did everything within our power to ensure this show is authentic.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining 10 interesting tidbits about the making of Shogun.
We have this wonderful cast of actors, many of whom have never worked outside of Japan before.
It was filmed in Vancouver.
Through the magic of visual effects, we're turning 21st century British Columbia into 17th century feudal Japan.
Despite taking place in 17th century Japan, Shogun was filmed in 21st century Canada. Ah, the magic of filmmaking. A number of sets were constructed in the city of Port Moody, which is located in the heart of Metro Vancouver. The site hosted a sawmill for over 100 years, but high property taxes caused it to close in late 2020. Enter the show's production team, who set up shop in the now abandoned property.
Is this the Japans?
Hi. Yes.
According to producer Hiroyuki Sanada, quote, the whole village, the, quote, Castle Stone Wall, and Osaka Harbor were all constructed in Port Moody. To thank the Canadian city for hosting them, the production crew donated a Japanese white pine that was used for filming, and it was planted at Port Moody City Hall.
Japan is here. My country, England. It's on the other side of the world.
It's the most expensive production in FX history.
I am sitting on 1 million ducats. That has to get to Macau. I won't lose this wind.
FX has hosted a number of acclaimed shows, including The Americans, Fargo, and American Horror Story. But of them all, Shogun is far and away the most expensive. The specific budget has not been released, but for the sake of comparison, the original 1980 miniseries was made for $22 million, about $80 million today.
I'm Father Sebastian, and you are a heretic Dutchman pirate. How did you get here?
According to Bill Bradley of Adweek, Shogun is, quote, the most expensive show in FX history, and that includes the $7 million they spent on a 30-second Super Bowl ad in 2024. The modern adaptation is not only more ambitious than the 1980 original, it's also filled with digital effects, so its budget is likely well within nine-figure territory.
わしは常に利益について考えておる。そっちの国と我が国の。
There were two different production crews.
I believe that's the reason they brought me on board along with groups of Japanese advisors.
Shogun is a show that blends East and West, and its filmmaking was just as culturally inclusive as its story. According to the chairman of FX Content, John Landgraf, the show had, quote, two full production crews, one in English and one in Japanese.
And I've never had a chance to work on a show with such representation and an almost exclusively Asian cast here in North America for a global audience.
The cast is primarily Japanese, as is a good chunk of the crew, including producer Hiroyuki Sanada, who was adamant that the show contain authentic Japanese history. Meanwhile, husband-wife showrunners Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo are American. The show's major theme around cultural melding was also inherent on set, like when the Japanese caterer became very popular with the local English crew.
And she initially did a small batch for the Japanese cast, and then people started making requests, and her job grew and grew.
The Japanese extras were paid much more than usual.
It is impossible to create a show of this scale for a local Japanese production.
Shogun required a large number of samurai extras to depict the various armies, not to mention background characters going about their daily lives in the village. As such, the production required a team of Japanese extras, and they were paid much more than they would have been in their native country.
We had a boot camp. The guys had to learn samurai sword fighting.
In Japan, it's quite normal for extras to work for free, but if they are paid, they're given 5,000 yen a day, which is about $30. But on the set of Shogun, the Japanese extras were given 50,000 yen a day, the equivalent of $300.
すごい大きなことだと思います。
Japanese advisors were used to make the show authentic.
We have 3 masters of gestures, and they're experts in this time period.
Wishing to be as authentic as possible, the production hired a number of Japanese advisors with expert knowledge in their respective fields. Virtually every aspect of the show and its characters was vetted by these advisors. For example, 3 masters of gesture were brought in to teach the actors how to move properly.
How to wear a kimono, how to walk, how to sit. how to open the shoji screen.
Everything from sitting, eating, walking, and opening doors was extensively studied and practiced to be as period accurate as possible. Furthermore, things like etiquette, behavior, and speaking style were taught to correctly portray the different social classes, with each distinguishing themselves in various unique ways.
今回の作品における日本人の男性武士から一般
There was an extensive use of CGI.
It's a show with visual effects on a grand scale. It's massive.
Creating 17th century Japan is no easy task, especially in 21st century Canada. Luckily, this century has one major thing going for it, and that's digital technology. CGI was extensively used throughout the production of Shogun, with many scenes containing some degree of digital manipulation. The use of blue screen was abundant, and entire ancient cityscapes were made on the computer.
In VFX, we're building a world that we haven't really seen before. We're looking at castles that don't stand anymore, and we're just based on like very scarce records, building them back up and creating them in VFX.
Digital humans were also used to boost numbers in the army sequences, with only a handful of soldiers being real. And even in scenes with practical work, digital effects were often used to spruce up the visuals and make the action more exciting. According to VFX supervisor Michael Clyatt, the typical effects-heavy show has 1,000 to 2,000 VFX shots. Shogun has 6,000.
Typically a large visual effects show, you would have, 1,000 to 2,000 visual effects shots. We'll probably be in the realm of about 5,000 to 6,000.
The costumes were entirely handmade.
I grew up in Japan, was watching those Japanese samurai era movie or TV show. I never thought I'm gonna wear that.